Today is August the 23rd. What's different about history writing in Israel? Let's find out together as we read the story of Samson. You'll find the story of Samson from Judges chapter 13 through 16. Please take the time to read that. You will have noticed that Samson comes from the tribe of Dan. This is while Dan was still trying to take over its land at the very west of Jerusalem near the sea. But it can't. In fact, we're told that the Philistines drove Dan back into the caves. This is apparently Samson's reality. Chapter 13 tells us of Samson's miraculous birth. Manoah and his wife are unable to have children. In verse 3, an angel from the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and said, "Even though you've been unable to have children, you will soon become pregnant and give birth to a son." They're told that they are to subject that son to a Nazirite vow. Don't cut his hair, don't give him strong or anything from the grapevine to eat or to drink. They live by that the rest of their life. Samson, their son, is born. And in chapter 14, we begin to see the story of Samson. The fact that the Israelites had not driven out the Philistines. In fact, the Philistines pushed back the Danites, the tribe of Dan. That's shown in Samson's very life. He is constantly falling in love with Philistine women. He meets a young girl from Philistia. He tells his parents, "Arrange the marriage for me." They cater to their son's whims, and it's the start of a lifetime of lust and philandering for Samson. The third thing that you'll see about Samson's life is he indeed does fight against the Philistines, but he does it for all the wrong reasons. The first time he fights against the Philistines, he's made a bet with the friends of his wife's family, and he loses that bet. The first time that he fights the Philistines, he goes out to kill 30 Philistines so that he can take their money and their clothing. The second time, it's for vengeance on the Philistines after the Philistines killed the woman that he wanted to marry and her family. The third time, in chapter 16, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. They locked him inside the city. He broke free by lifting the massive city gates off of their hinges, taking them down one valley and up the mountain in front of that city. And then, of course, we have the story of Samson and Delilah, where Delilah several times asked Samson what the secret of his strength is. It's obvious to Samson that she doesn't love him, and yet he still stays with her and eventually gives her the truth. The final time Samson fights against the Philistines, he kills 3,000 men and women in the temple of, is it Dagon? It's maybe the god of that temple is not named. It looks like he's not. He's taken to the temple of one of the Philistine gods, and he pushes aside the foundational pillars of the temple, and it falls on everyone inside, killing 3,000 Philistines and Samson. Now, we started with a question. What's different about history writing in Israel? As you read the stories of men and women in other countries, the thing that marks those stories is how wonderful they were. We're told about their lives in glowing detail, everything wonderful that they did, all of their marvelous attributes are mentioned. It's not the case in Israel. History writing in Israel tells us the true story of how those men and women were. If they were good, we're told they were good. And if they weren't, they're painted, warts and all. The true hero of history writing in Israel is God himself. God continually shows up to free Israel, to bless Israel, to care for Israel. What's different about history writing in Israel is they appear to be writing truth about their ancestors. Warts and all. It's important because we, in our lives, live our life, warts and all. The same God that was good to them is good to us. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Tomorrow, we'll read a psalm that explains what happens when life just doesn't make sense.